Hey everybody, Jim Benson here from Modus Cooperandi, Modus Institute, and the Collaboration Equation. And this is Weekly Jim number 46, entitled We Have a Responsibility, talking today a little bit about where we're at. So at Modus Institute, we talk a lot about visual management, we talk a lot about humane management, and we talk a lot about toxicity. And toxicity kills. It is a killer of value. It is a killer of careers. It is a killer of our ability to relate. But weirdly enough, it also comes from how we relate. Talk about that in a little bit. But first off here is that it's expensive. So toxicity is a very expensive proposition. When we aren't communicating well, when we aren't managing our projects well, when we are treating each other poorly, we have a lot of meetings to talk about that. We have a lot of alignment sessions. We have people who don't act, and therefore problems grow out of control because they don't have the agency or the psychological safety to deal with problems. And so workplace strife costs billions of dollars every year just in the US. Just in the US. These numbers here are just for the US. It's not even for the whole planet. But I will tell you this, like in our cleaning toxic waste work group, almost all of our students are from not the US. So this is a global phenomenon. And every week we talk about the toxicities that are present and then ways to mitigate those toxicities. And we're doing that because these things they're not as simple as we'd like to make them out to be. So most of us are unprepared to work together, to communicate with other people. There's just never any classes in grade school about how to deal with other people. And so when you come into work, or when I come into work and I'm dealing with stuff that's happening in the rest of my life, I'm carrying that with me. And it changes how I relate to other people. So some days I might be snippy. Some days I might interrupt people. I might push my agenda. I might do things that other people see as toxic. And then they identify me with that toxicity, right? And you do the same thing to other people. People come in and they're a jerk. And you're like, yeah, I'm going to remember that. You're a jerk. So even though 3/4 or 2/3, I guess, no, 3/4 of employees see their manager as setting workplace culture, which right away is a red flag because they're turning over their authority of setting up their own working environment to somebody else. But then almost all managers lack an ability to actually inform or align teams, right? So what that means is that the managers lack the ability to do the thing that everybody says they're supposed to do, which is set culture. So culture is how we relate. Business is built on relationships. And so toxicity is literally killing us by making us, first of all, dread to go to work. So actively dread from this one study was a phrase that really jumped out at me. Scientists aren't keen for hyperbole, and actively dread is a very strong way of saying that people are actually traumatized by going to work because the level of toxicity is so high. And when that happens, it has an actual physical response from all of these people and the people around them. So you're more guarded, you're not as trusting, and that elevates your heart rate, it elevates your breathing, it constricts your lungs, it does all sorts of things. It changes how you digest your food, and those things then come out as major diseases. Heart, lung, blood diseases, because you aren't processing your emotional, mental, cognitive world in a healthy way. Therefore, your body responds by not processing other things in other ways, which adds to the cost because then people are gone from work more because they're sick. And they're not sick because they don't want to come to work. They're sick because Work is actually making them sick. So now we want to ask ourselves some questions. So like the first question here is like, what are our goals as a group? So as a group, when we come together and you're being a jerk or I'm being a jerk or somebody else is being a jerk, we want to be able to pull back and say, what are our goals here? Why are we being a jerk? What does being a jerk mean? How do we stop people from being a jerk? And we do that by understanding what our shared goals are. Our shared goals are to get the work done in a quality way, to solve problems quickly, to have work not hurt. That's our goal. And oddly enough, when we do that, we remove a lot of the bottlenecks that are stopping us from getting our work done. Be they bottlenecks from me not giving you information you need in a timely manner, or you giving me work that isn't actually complete when you do the handoff, or not fully planning projects because we don't want to waste our time in meetings. So we underplan, and then we all try and work to a poorly formed plan. Or worse yet, we engage in no planning at all, and then we just go off and start doing things as experiments. But those experiments have no goal. they have no success criteria, and we have no idea of knowing where the complexity in them lies. So we want to be able to know what our goals are. We want to know what impact we as individuals want to have. And I guarantee you the impact you want to have isn't to go to work and be snippy at other people or have them be snippy at you, right? So we then want to understand, what do we want to do next? What do we want to achieve? What's following that up? That calms us down because we're able to see a clear future. As we're moving towards that clear future, we understand the impact that we can have as an individual in our team while we're creating value to get things done. So Conway's Law says that basically a company or a team, their product will reflect their culture, their way of communicating. Well, you as an individual or the other people on your team as individuals, it's the same thing. In their heads, they're having all of these stress reactions to the world at large, to bills, to family, to just all of this stuff. And so their product, which is how they relate to you, is suffering because of that. So we want to understand as a group what our goals are so that we can bring conversations when we're at work back to what those goals are. And that gives us a little bit of space to help the people that we're working with deal with the other baggage that they might have. Maybe one of their family members is sick. Maybe they just lost something that was very important to them. They're actual human things that are going to impact how you or others interact with each other. And that's where toxicity tends to start. Okay? It doesn't start with the big jerk manager doing jerk manager things. It starts from us not interacting well, not planning well, not creating a system where work is as predictable as it can be, so that when unpredictable things happen, we have the bandwidth to deal with them, right? So we want to have a way out of this. And like I said, at Modus, we do a lot with visual management. And we do a lot with visual management because visual management externalizes the information that needs to be exchanged. It doesn't rely on an individual or set of individuals to exchange that information. And it gives people the things that they need. So that Langston Hughes quote down there, humor is laughing what you haven't got when you ought to have it. Most of the toxicity at work is us not being able to process things because we don't have the information, we don't have the authority, we don't have the ability to act for whatever reason. And so we'll make jokes about it, we'll create workarounds around it, we'll complain about it, we'll have a lot of meetings about it, but all of those things are that overhead from the very first picture that I put up, the very first statistics that I put up. That is the $1 billion or the billions of dollars that we're spending, is all of that wasted energy because we're not visualizing the system and allowing everybody to keep an eye on it. So the I don't want to just hawk the classes at Modus, but I want to say that that visual management, while it sounds just like a thing, it takes these difficulties in communication and it removes the responsibility for them from the individual and puts it into one of those online tools or an inanimate object that is then broadcasting for you. It's triggering people to action. It's making calls to action for you. It is smoothing over workplace strife by making workplace strife not constantly everybody's fallback. that our better communication can become something that we actually build, we instantiate, we maintain, and move forward. That is what Nobeya is for. It's what a Kanban is for. It's what all these different visualizations that we want to build are for. And it is our responsibility, in especially stressful times like now where people are seeking to isolate, to make sure that we keep open communications, because open communications are how business will run.